On a rainy afternoon, a team of exterminators begin their hunt for vermin known as Amazons. Body parts are strewn around as they walk into a nest. Luckily, they have their own Amazon, a young man named Mamoru, who then kills the vermin that leaves behind an armlet in a puddle. Shinjiro Shirakura once pitched a grittier reboot of Kamen Rider Amazon to Amazon Japan. However, it was mostly meant as a joke. He said that the original Kamen Rider Amazon from 1974 was the most different season in the franchise, going so far as adding that current seasons of Rider aren't interesting, so he wanted to bring that interest back. As you guys can tell from the opening, yeah, this definitely isn't that Sunday morning show we're used to, and that's exactly what Shirakura wanted. The first few minutes, as well as the first episode, was meant to show what we're getting into. Notice the slow pacing, the bleak tone, the Instagram sepia filter. Previous seasons had bits and pieces of these elements, Kuga being the closest to this tone, but Amazons is an entire season that delves into something more into their storytelling. Of course, there is also the gore. I know some of you would rather not see the gore, so I'll try to keep it to a minimum. However, keep in mind that there will be a scene that is, well, I'll have a warning when it arrives. The build-up to Amazons felt surreal, and it existing in the first place seems like something out of a fever dream. To think that rumblings of a gritty Showa reboot came from 4chan, I hope the stronger one is real too. Amazons was able to get away with much of its grittiness due to it being released through Amazon Prime, and you can even watch it yourself officially, at the time of this video. Although it's far from the first official English release. Aside from manga, a couple of foreign English dubs, and that Sega CD Masked Rider ZO game, we were able to get Masked Rider the First and Kamen Rider V3 on DVD. So please watch Amazons, or internationally known as Amazon Riders, on Amazon Prime. You'll be supporting the official release. Then as Amazons was airing, there was plenty of praise over the mature storytelling, as well as criticisms with the arguably unnecessary gore. But that didn't stop fans from wanting more. After a promotion through Cho Superhero Tyson, Kamen Rider Amazon Season 2 was released. What came out of that? Well, I want to save thoughts on that for a certain reason. I mostly want to say, keep an open mind. Amazons is different, and I want to show you guys the how, as well as the value within the show. In this world, which is separate from any writers that came before, is an extermination team led by a man named Shiro. The vermin they hunt are called Amazon. Within this team is Maihara, Ryusuke, Nozomi, Misaki, and Fukuda, nicknamed Fuku. They also have their own Amazon named Mamoru, who appears to have a childlike wonder to him. They all work for Nozama Pest Service, which is under the guise of Nozama Pharmaceuticals. Elsewhere, we meet a girl named Mizuki. She's just getting home and says hello to this young man, Haruka. She isn't allowed to see him often since apparently Haruka's in bad health and has to constantly take medicine. All he really does is take care of his aquarium, to which he compares his room to. Their mother, Reika Mizuzawa, yells at Mizuki to leave the room. She has a lot on her plate as it is working for Nozama Pharmacy, and taking care of Haruka as a kind of foster mother. Haruka hates this life, and so has stopped taking his medicine. An Amazon attacks somewhere in the city. Now something inside Haruka is starting to awaken. The extermination team is sent out and a man follows them through a tracker, but not before he drinks some raw eggs and gives his partner, Nanaha, a kiss. During the Amazon hunt, Ryusuke is attacked. He emits steam and we see that he's an Amazon too. And then... our raw egg leading lad here is named Jin, and he has the means to fight an Amazon.
Amazon.
Haruka notices the fight and shows what happens when he doesn't take his medicine. The battle is brutal but dies down as Jin takes Haruka away. Reika's assistant Kano delivers some answers to the extermination team. Amazon have armlets, or registers, that set off a signal whenever their beast instincts are unleashed. So they currently can't track Haruka or Jin since they don't have one. Which is weird enough since Amazon were originally human experiments that went loose 2 years ago. They have Amazon cells that feed off human cells like protein. Haruka didn't feel the need to eat humans because that desire was suppressed by his medicine. Now that he's unleashed his Amazon, Jin puts an armlet on him, as it not only tracks Amazons, but injects medicine as well. If it ever runs out and their Amazon instincts awaken, then there's no going back, unless you already know how to control it. The reason why Amazon are appearing now is because the armlets remain active for only about 2 years. The extermination team are disguised as a pest service because otherwise, there would be widespread panic if civilians found out that there are monsters among them. In total, there are about 4,000 Amazons, but each person's timer is a bit different, so not everyone will awaken at once. Mamoru is a special case. He controls his instincts by eating hamburgers. However, everyone else has a time limit. And unfortunately, Ryusuke is the next victim of circumstance. Before he goes on the hunt, Jin vows to kill every Amazon in existence, including Haruka. In contrast, Haruka says that he'd rather die than eat someone. Nanaha notes how different they are, Jin being like a wild animal, and Haruka is more like a pet. She gives Haruka a gift. Fuku stops the team's van, hesitant that they're about to hunt one of their own. Shido is taking it the hardest out of anyone else. He's the team leader, so he has to make the call. They have to kill Ryusuke to save others. Their hunt begins, but Maihara can't bring himself to fire his gun, so Ryusuke eats him. Haruka has been having his own hesitancy as he starts to awaken and transforms using a driver that's similar to Jin's. Haruka fast travels to fight Ryusuke, cutting his body in half. Ryusuke overheated and not even Ryuji's super strength could save him this time. Haruka and Jin conflict with each other's ideals as Mamoru cries over a lifeless Maihara. Jin and Haruka are being looked into by Nozama Pharmacy, but the weird thing is how Haruka's file is considered classified. Reika is in a meeting with some investors when Haruka enters and shows how his arm has transformed. She tries to save face by saying that Haruka is a new member of the extermination team. Who's this clean-looking investor? I feel like he should have a doll on his shoulder. Oh yeah, and Kano gives Haruka a brand new bike. In the next couple of episodes, we get some character development as Haruka and the extermination team are trapped in a building full of Amazons. Plus, here's a cute scene of Mamoru offering half his burger to Haruka. And then Jin gets captured by Nozama Pharmacy. Haruka learns that Jin worked in development and was part of the Amazon Cells project, as well as creating the bangle. He chose to be an Amazon and injected himself with the cells, because he wants to wipe them all out. Haruka notices that Jin and Reika only want to get rid of what's inconvenient for them. Maybe Amazon aren't monsters. After all, Haruka is an Amazon, but he wants to help the team protect those who need it. Then Nanaha sneaks into the facility to break Jin out. Aw, relationship goals. The investor I pointed out earlier is named Tachibana, and he's been planning his own project. All it needs is a sample of the Amazon driver for their own gray Amazon. In another episode, we see a young man entering an eerie-looking restaurant, although the only thing on the menu is him. The Amazon inside are sophisticated, even when one of their bangle goes off and is kindly asked to leave. For their hunt, Haruka and Nozomi go undercover in the restaurant. Nozomi is asked to step aside while Haruka sits down with the other patrons. They know it's his first time, so they say they only eat humans to slow the awakening process. This'll give them an extra chance at life. The chef transforms and attacks Nozomi, causing the rest of the team to go into the restaurant as the patrons escape. They're rounded up and the team are told to put gas masks on. Drones are sent out and the gas emitting from them kills the runaway Amazons. With that, Reika wants to go on to the next step, Project Taluk. During those events, Kano is asked to see something within the Nozama facility. He sees a familiar face, one that shouldn't be alive. Tachibana asked to meet with Jin, but Jin took it as a bad omen since he forgot to kiss Nanaha goodbye. At the meeting place, Jin sees Maihara, who has his own Amazon's driver.
Amazon.
Another secret project that was being worked on included injecting Amazon cells into the deceased. It's argued that this can be ethically wrong, but it saves a lot of money, as well as make money by creating their own controllable Amazons. Best of all, Maihara has new cells, so now he has no need to feed. The only one happy to see Maihara at all is Mamoru, but he's living in his own bliss. Haruka and Maihara confront each other. Even though Amazon are superhuman, a hit like that would still kill them. But Haruka was able to be healed up with just a bit of food. Before Project Talak begins, Haruka and the team deal with Maihara, but they're still hesitant to fight their old friend. Then we see that Mamoru needed to bring the team together somehow. He gathered what little money he had in order to pay the team to exterminate Maihara. At this point, Maihara has been deteriorating and begins to fall apart. Now all they have left to worry about is Project Talak. Back at HQ, Mamoru eats his usual burger, but now he thinks it doesn't taste as good as he remembers. He flashes back to when he tried some meat that was on the cannibal restaurant's floor. Jin's plan, as he always says, is to kill all Amazons, so he'll do anything for Project Talak to be a success. In fact, he gathers data on the Amazons project and is going to post it online if Reika doesn't go through with Talak. Meanwhile, the team is on the hunt for the escaped restaurant patrons. They go through a tunnel when it starts to rain. The team split up, and Mamoru can't hold back his hunger any longer. He attacks Misaki, his own friend. Haruka saves Mizuki. Jin is having the time of his life fighting off Amazon. Drones gas the city during the rain, killing off Amazons both awakened and unawakened. Project Talak has begun. Underground, Mamoru has been eating Misaki's arm. Fuku is in disbelief and starts to aim, but Misaki says not to shoot. Mamoru notices the yen on their necklace. He reverts back to normal and runs off. To live means to devour someone's life, like what Jin once said. With that, Project Talak is complete. The extermination team is given their last paycheck, and Haruka has gone missing. 3 weeks later, about 3,000 Amazon registers have been collected. The remaining bands are either uncollected or only a few Amazon are left alive at all. Kano finds Shiro in a bar, but Shiro wants nothing to do with Nozama or Amazons anymore. Although, Kano says that Mamoru has been found. The team is gathered to find Mamoru's last location. They get surrounded by several Amazon and are about to be killed off, until Haruka stops them. Now he's scarred and says nothing. Unawakened Amazon come over the hill, but they're scared of something. Jin walks on the beach holding an Amazon's heart, and his face is scarred too. He eats the heart and transforms to fight Haruka. Jin and Haruka slash through each other's necks. That's enough for today. Jin will keep coming back as long as more Amazon are left alive. Mamoru appears through the crowd. The team calls for him to come back home, showing that they still have the yen that Mamoru paid them all those weeks ago. Mamoru cries, but he has to stay with Haruka and the other Amazon where he belongs. The team says goodbye to Haruka, Mamoru, and the last of the Amazons. Jin limps over to a pole and laughs next to Nanaha. At Nozama, Reika looks over the footage of Haruka and the Amazons. As final exposition, Reika says that Haruka was made by injecting human cells into an Amazon. Her own cells. Thus ending Season 1. A man named Nobuta Soramachi and his friends live secretly as Amazons. One of his friends, Ichiba Sumugi, is a firefly Amazon that tries to study and understand the patterns of other Amazon. His other friend, Seiji, is a horseshoe crab Amazon that does construction work, and their last housemate is Kichihara, a normal human who doesn't know the other's secrets. One day, Seiji's bangle runs out of relaxant and is about to awaken. He comes across a figure under a bridge who offers him a burger. Seiji starts to awaken, and he attacks the man. The extermination team get the signal and fight him off, when Noboru witnesses the fight. A light emanates from Eiji and is let loose on the city, as Haruka is called to follow him. Eventually, the Amazons draw Jin's attention and are hunted down by him. Barely surviving their encounter with him, they have a bigger problem on the rise as Project Talok begins. Noboru seems to be affected, but not as much as the others, instead being put into a comatose state. He remembers when he met with an Ozama test subject, one that's being experimented on to be the next Amazon rider. Throughout the manga, there's an ongoing story that deals with a mysterious, almost zombified man who has an Amazon's driver. Sigma is back. However, this is not Maihara. Rather, this is a test version of Sigma, who escaped the company sometime before the creation of the true Sigma. The story concludes as Noboru faces off against Sigma and other Amazons. This was Kamen Rider Amazon's Gaiden, Light of the Firefly. Currently, the manga has no translations, nor is it accessible outside of Japan. However, this manga does have a very entertaining story with interesting new characters. The manga also provides a look through the eyes of an Amazon who is being hunted, which is a story I was personally hoping to see. Being released from 2018 to 2019 with 4 volumes, it takes place around episode 6 up to Project Talok, and a bit before season 2. It has quite the interesting story, and it still has the graphic violence you'd expect from Amazons. Though it also has, some questionable content. If you are able to get your hands on a copy of it, then I'd say to give it a shot. It was an entertaining read. So, that was Kamen Rider, right? Okay. You know that one meme where there's a caricature of a fan saying, Kamen Rider is dark, it's like Power Rangers but there's blood and swearing? Or the equivalent of a boomer meme stating that Kamen Rider isn't like it used to be, now it's all about the toys and no one is buff anymore. We can all move past ignorant comments like those, but allow me to add one more statement to that pool. This one might surprise you. Kamen Rider Amazons is too edgy. I know some people can't stand the sight of blood whatsoever. That's valid, and you're the exception. However, Kamen Rider. Now, I won't say who can or who can't watch what they want at any age, since obviously, I'm an adult that watches Kamen Rider, a show meant for kids to watch on Saturday mornings. These shows of which are able to tell stories that sometimes not even adult shows can tell in a tangible way. However, I believe Amazons has certain themes that can only be told here, along with themes that people think are unique but are actually a lot more common than you realize. Early Heisei and even seasons like Gaim and Build have dealt with more mature storytelling, but at the end of the day, they're all still kid shows. I really wanted to bring up that Amazons is unique because it has gray storytelling, but that was a major theme in Faiz and Gaim. So what makes Amazon special? One word. Presentation. That's not to say that the storytelling is bad. Quite the opposite. It's the way the story is told that makes it stand out. Beneath all the unnecessary gore, there's a story worth seeing. Take episode 8. Half the extermination team are investigating some murders that are suspected to come from an Amazon. This leads to Nozomi and Mamoru finding a person who almost kills them by starting a fire. This cameo is obviously an Amazon, right? He beats on Nozomi nearly to death, but Mamoru doesn't stop him because the guy is a human. When Haruka finally arrives, he wants to kill the murderer, but Jin comes in with a simple rule he lives by. He's going to defeat all Amazons to protect humans, no matter what, even if they're murderers. If Haruka goes past that line, then he'll really lose any humanity he has left. The words dark and mature have basically become overused buzzwords and at times have had negative connotations. Yeah, Kamen Rider can be dark and kid shows can have mature themes, but what separates them from other shows is presentation. It's unique to see a show made for children have themes about death and morals that would be difficult to talk about. I'd even say modern kid shows, especially Western animation, has some good themes that I would have never seen in my childhood. On the opposite side of that spectrum where Amazons lands, it's a show made for adults in mind that present these themes in a franchise that's known to be targeted towards kids. Sorry for going on this tangent, I just feel like it's important to bring all this up when diving into and overanalyzing Amazons. Heck, I haven't even brought up individual characters yet, so let's finally get to them. Ironically, starting with the extermination team. We're thrust into this world where the only ones who know what's really going on are the suits in Ozama Pharmacy. Meanwhile, the smaller people are sent out to exterminate vermin. Each of these people have a story and reasons why they do what they do. At one point, a statement is brought up that no one is here to fight for the good of humanity. They were desperate for money. Nozomi was working for an orphanage. Misaki was in deep debt. Fuku needed to pay for the well-being of his mother, who's in the hospital. Everything might seem hopeless, but there are times to just sit back. Misaki tries to keep things light with his do good with his smile nature. And Mamoru is naive enough to not only want to fight for burgers, but for his friends. As much as they wouldn't want to admit until the end, they've become like a family. Funnily enough, the director was the one who fleshed out the extermination team's backstory, so I'm happy to see these characters with names continue on their fight no matter how bleak it got. Then when it came to our protagonist, well, Jin's actor, Masashi Taniguchi, put it best. He was told not to play a hero. If you guys do watch the show, then I'll be very surprised if you don't change your mind on who's right at least once. Jin fights to protect humans, while Haruka fights to protect his own will to live alongside the Amazon. Saying someone is not a hero can be an ignorant statement, or it can be pretty obvious depending on who you are. Jin seems pretty heroic. He's fighting against the monsters that kill humans. Though what if those monsters are just like us? They look like us. Live like us. Haruka's our main focus and he's part of those monsters, so he wants to protect them too. It's okay. Amazons kill humans, so Jin is doing the right thing. But what about the murderer who wasn't an Amazon? He was set free simply because he was human. I said that Amazons is special because of its presentation, the way it tells its story. Not to mention that I just think it looks really friggin' cool. I wasn't into the desaturated filter at first and thought it was kind of ugly. Then I watched past episode 1. Jin's Amazon Alpha looked awesome. Though I didn't like Amazon Omega Origin, the first form that Haruka had. I thought Omega Origin was a bit lanky and the red veins popping out was gross. Then I saw Kamen Rider Amazon Omega's debut and it was eye candy. Along with Amazon Sigma being a repainted Omega Origin, purple and white just worked better for it. Not only were the suits amazing, but the action was so good. Kuga had raw fights to the death, but Amazons is probably the most raw I've seen Toku action be. This really is a hand-to-hand fight to the death with the perfect balance of choreographical action. I guess the gore is the cherry on top depending on who you are. I'm personally not into that kind of violence, but hey, seeing all this action end with an Amazon's cut in half is, cathartic? Don't take that out of context. Oh yeah, Alpha is based on a piranha, Omega is a lizard, and Omega Origin had the 1974 Amazon design in mind. Slight detour here. Amazons is obviously based on the Showa era's Amazon. Kamen Rider Gio's stage show would go on to say that Amazons, as well as Kamen Rider the First and the Next, are quote-unquote Showa and Heisei. That sounds like a great sentiment, and it makes sense. Though they were still released and produced after 1988, so they're technically Heisei. Hashtag sorry not sorry. As always, I only went over the biggest plot points as to not give everything away, because the show does have a lot to offer. But let me also say that even if I did go over the details, I still couldn't explain what Amazons is all about. This wasn't the most difficult script to write for, but it did take a lot of time to find the right things to say. It didn't help that I took 4 hours recording this. Still, I wasn't able to say absolutely everything on my mind. Thankfully, after all this, Amazons was very well received by both fans and critics. Here come the few people groaning that the show went well. A second season was greenlit, but where could the story go? It felt pretty self-contained. Amazons was confirmed to be an alternate universe, so it was allowed to do whatever it wanted. The possibilities were endless. Season 1 had an amazing story. Maybe Season 2 can build upon it or do something new. 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 Amazon Season 2 starts with a group of people walking into underbrush where limbs are scattered and a bloodied boy is found, with Jin seen in the distance. The boy was possibly raised by an Amazon. He grows fast and barely speaks, though his hunger is unmatchable. He's named Chihiro. We see 3 young men hunt down a police officer and knock him out, but he's an Amazon. These men call themselves Team X, New Heroes of Justice, and they have Chihiro on their side. Chihiro transforms into Kamen Rider Amazon Neo, as some people watch from afar. A girl named EU confirms that a target is nearby, then Fuku shoots. Team X, led by a soon-to-be Dragon Boy called Hiroki, hunt Amazon as vigilantes, and they have millions of followers, getting tons of views and are paid well. Tachibana gets reports on a new type of Amazon, but it's strange because he says that they should have slowed down 5 years ago. These new Amazon have lysogenic cells. They can infect humans, causing them to multiply. EU is part of a squad similar to Season 1's extermination team, named after their leader, Kurosaki. We're then taken to Team X's hangout spot, a club owned by Shiro. Although, Tachibana and Kurosaki's main goal is to find Chihiro. An Amazon is found, so Team X and Kurosaki's squad go out for their hunt. Chihiro transforms and feels the Amazon nearby. Then EU steps out and transforms. But she's human. The enemy Amazon stabs through EU and she keeps moving. After the Amazon is killed, Chihiro confronts EU. She's the first human that he doesn't want to eat. Kurosaki knocks out Chihiro with an injection, taking them back towards the squad's headquarters. News is out that lysogenic cells have been spread through water dispensers, so a different squad is sent out to investigate. Tachibana reminisces with Kano about the Talak incident from 5 years ago, when they finally meet Chihiro. They offer Chihiro to work for them. He's basically an Amazon anyway, and can help with their hunts. Chihiro yells back that he's human, but Kurosaki points out that Chihiro had a craving for flesh. Hiroki tells Team X that he recognizes EU. She was in his class last year and hasn't heard from her ever since her family got killed by an Amazon. A bit after, Kurosaki exposes to Chihiro that EU's dad was one of the new type of Amazons that ate her, in turn making EU technically dead. But Tachibana got permission to experiment on her. Now she's able to feel no pain or emotion since she's a corpse. The only thing she does outside of battle is sing a song that her father sang while eating her. Chihiro agrees to fight for Tachibana, but only if they stop using EU. That's an impossible wish, because all EU knows now is battle. The squad that was sent out to investigate the contaminated water are almost entirely killed off by an Amazon. Then one of the soldiers calls in for backup. Kurosaki's squad and Chihiro arrive on scene. Elsewhere, Team X see the news about the water. One of the boys remembers drinking from that brand's container earlier. He begins to transform, eating the other young man. EU's battle causes her to limp, barely able to move. Chihiro takes up the fight himself and stabs through the Amazon's head. EU reacts, remembering back to her father's birthday when he transformed into an Amazon and ate her family. She was dragged across the floor as he sang a song. That's when Kurosaki entered their house and saw the aftermath, including when EU's dad ate her eye. After killing the Amazon, there's a silence in the air. A man on a red bike stops in front of them. Haruka has arrived.
Kamen Rider Amazons.
I hope you're all enjoying the video so far. I always appreciate the support I get, whether it's through YouTube memberships, Patreon, or just leaving a like. I did want to give this time to shout out my friend and mod Ferbus on the Dreambomb Discord for this awesome Amazon shirt. Link to everything will be in the description. Now let's get back to it. Why is there a filter over me? Persona non grata is Italian meaning unwelcomed person, although its vulgar Latin being more directly translated as person not appreciated. This phrase can be used diplomatically to mean that an individual foreigner is not welcome by the country they're in. Quo vadis is another Latin phrase, this time meaning where are you going? There's a biblical connotation to this question that involves a martyr, but I won't get into that for personal reasons, though it's one thing to keep in mind, or else I wouldn't be bringing it up. Amazons has a stylistic choice of making their episode titles go with the English alphabet. Season 1 Episode 1 being called Amazons, Episode 2 is Beast Inside, 3 is Colony of Ants, and so on. Limiting yourself doesn't always lead to the most creative names, but on the other hand, limits can lead to creativity. Season 2 Episode 3 is called Persona non grata, Episode 4 is Quo vadis. Overall, episodes 16 and 17 respectively. So what does all this mean for Amazons? Kurosaki recognizes Haruka from the night that Iyu's family was murdered. After all, Haruka killed her father after he became an Amazon. He's a high-value target, but Haruka is only interested in Chihiro and Iyu, until he sees Mizuki, who's now part of the same organization that Kurosaki Squad is in. On top of that, she's willing to kill Haruka using a pressure bomb, a new weapon capable of killing an Amazon. The aftermath at Shiro's club leads to Hiroki questioning himself and what the point of all this was. All Shiro does is welcome back Nozomi and Misaki for another hunt. In Quo vadis, Chihiro's had enough and runs away with Iyu, saying that today's mission is to be like other people. They go to an amusement park, go on rides, play games, take pictures, and Chihiro buys her clothes with the little money he made hunting Amazons. He buys some crepes, but she doesn't taste anything. The day passes and Iyu begins to feel weak. She was given protein back at the facility, but she's had none today, and Chihiro is starting to feel hungry. Kurosaki's been tracking them and let them have their fun, but now he steps in to feed Iyu her protein and order her to not hunt Chihiro. Meanwhile, the old extermination team, accompanied by Hiroki, are on their hunt. They go to a reservoir when Amazons attack them. Hiroki gets pinned and is saved by Fuku, who was sent here to investigate, along with one other person, Mamoru. Quo vadis is pretty straightforward. Chihiro runs away with Iyu, but where are they marching? They can't outrun their fate. Although Quo vadis could also refer to the extermination team, or Kurosaki Squad. The Latin phrase was asked from a place of self-doubt. Where can our characters go? They're just gonna end up in the same place anyway. Maybe their march isn't worth the trouble. Persona non grata felt a bit more open. It's pretty obvious that Chihiro isn't wanted, either from his squad or Haruka, the person you'd expect to welcome him with open arms. Then again, maybe Haruka is the unwelcomed person. He disappears for 5 years and the moment he comes back, Mizuki vows to kill him. The original extermination team are basically nobodies. Hiroki just lost his friends, and Iyu is a husk. Maybe they're all unwanted by their own families, friends, country. Our next plot development comes when Mamoru says he's the one who contaminated the water with lysogenic cells. For the past 5 years, Amazons have been killed off, so now he wants to fight back. With Amazon numbers going down, Mamoru decided to create an army by injecting people with the Amazon cells. Elsewhere, Haruka shows Mizuki an arm. Specifically, it's what's causing the lysogenic cells to spread in the water, and it was planted here by Mamoru. Haruka used to be the leader of an Amazon pack 5 years ago, but things change over time. Even people and Amazon like Mamoru. Still, Mamoru's Amazons can't bring themselves to eat people. His own turning point was eating Misaki's arm, Then Shiro shows them that they all still have their yen necklaces, but Mamoru doesn't care. These yen won't save anyone. Haruka had his own conflict in deciding whether to create more Amazon with Mamoru, but he's more invested in living in peace. Before leaving, Haruka warns Mizuki about Chihiro. He still has human DNA. After some time, Hiroki and Chihiro each go on a walk and pass by each other. They catch up and Hiroki says how he used to know Iyo at school. She used to enjoy baking, so Chihiro buys a cake. Our three factions of characters kill an Amazon when Haruka finds a chance to attack Iyo. Chihiro runs to stop him and is stabbed in the stomach. Haruka wants to have Iyo rest in peace, but Chihiro continues. His eyes turn blue, and his veins pop out. With that, everyone decides to call it a day. No one knew what was going on, and it was time to let Chihiro go. He grabs his cake box and runs over, but trips, accidentally spilling the cake on Iyo's face. He laughs, and she starts to remember. Fun. Back at the facility, it's time for Chihiro's checkup. Haruka gives Mizuki the Amazon arm that was infecting the water around town, and it was found that DNA from it matches Chihiro's. It's possible that he was the origin of the lysogenic cells. Then, where did the arm come from? Chihiro is shown a pressure bomb, the one meant to kill off Amazon. He's given a small taste of it. Haruka and Shiro reminisce what happened 5 years ago. Mamoru is no longer their ally, and Jin disappeared after he became affected by Project Talok's reign. Luckily, Shiro had some help from the inside, so he gives Haruka a gift, a new driver. Iyo is surprisingly allowed free time, but all she does with that time is stop at her old home and sing a song. Hiroki sees her and takes her to a broken down amusement park, and Amazon attacks them. Iyo is in need of backup, but before Chihiro goes, Kano reminds him that he was only given a small dose of the bomb. Iyo has one strapped to her armlet that's pretty much activated every time she transforms. Not that it matters. She can't feel pain anyway. If Chihiro doesn't start obeying them, then things will get worse for him and Iyo. Chihiro arrives on scene but is weak after feeling a bit of the bomb. Then a familiar face fumbles in. His eyes are grayed. Blinded. Everyone goes quiet. Chihiro calls him Dad. The colors turn brighter. 5 years ago, Jin's face was scarred after Project Talok. He's lost everything except for Nanaha. All Jin did was fight Haruka day after day. At this point, Jin's lost his mind and doesn't even recognize Haruka. He's constantly on a rampage like a wild animal, and Mamoru is shown Jin's killings. Mamoru blames Haruka for not killing Jin, but Haruka couldn't bring himself to kill an already broken man. Jin wakes up in a cabin. He isn't scarred anymore, and feels like a new man. He sees Nanaha outside, and runs to her as she falls to her knees. He feels her stomach. Nanaha says they'll make good parents, but Jin keeps to his mantra of wanting to kill all Amazons. After Nanaha's baby is born, she asks a professor that Jin knows and Haruka for a favor. This professor, who's yet another cameo, worked with Jin when Ozama Pharmaceuticals weren't bankrupt. The professor has children he wants to protect, his own daughter, named Iyo. Jin interrogates him and pushes him down, accidentally cutting the professor's finger against glass that had Amazon DNA on it. Jin then confronts Haruka, who was tasked to protect baby Chihiro, named after the Japanese phrase for 1,000 wings. In this battle, Haruka cuts through Jin's eyes. Nanaha is on the run with Chihiro, who's growing at a fast rate, looking about 5 years old. One night, Chihiro looks hungrily at his sleeping mom. This is where we started, at the underbrush with the squad firing at separated Amazon's arms and saving Chihiro. From there, squads were formed. Team X went on their hunts, and the professor killed his family. In the present day, Jin has been wanting to meet Chihiro, to kill him. The bright colors go into a dark filter, and Nanaha disappears. Chihiro is designated as the original source of the lysogenic cells, and it's why Haruka wants to kill Chihiro. He's too dangerous to be kept alive. With all this news, Tachibana decides to freeze Chihiro and make him brain dead like Iyo. Before Chihiro is locked up in a cell, he gives Iyo the photo they took at the amusement park. But first, take a look at this cute puppy. This is the scene that I'm gonna warn you about. If you want to skip all the violence, then go to this timestamp on screen. If you want to stay, then enjoy the gore fest, you sick monsters. So basically, this scene gets the golden chainsaw for best kill in the entire franchise. No bowler hats between rocks included. To sum it all up, several other squad members are killed, Kano is killed, my dreams are killed, Tachibana's body is broken, and the only ones left alive are Hiroki and Kurosaki, since EU is already dead. After the rampage of Amazon Neo Origin, Chihiro wakes up and starts to panic. During the attack, Haruka and the team have been on their own investigation, leading them towards Mamoru and an invisible Amazon. Haruka puts on the Neo Amazon driver and transforms. I'll put a pin in that for later. Chihiro is on the run with EU. Kurosaki and Jin go after him. Shido and Mamoru are put into a healing state, and Fuku gets a call that his mom left her hospital room. The entire reason he joined these squads in the first place, the one he's risking his life for, stands in front of him, her veins popping out. Meanwhile, Haruka and Mizuki walk into a forest when they get a signal of the invisible Amazon. She appears before them, and reveals that this Amazon is Nanaha. Episode 11, Shing the Rubicon, meaning the beginning of the end, or the point of no return. Nanaha was affected by the lysogenic cells since, well, she birthed Chihiro. So they were both the originals. Mizuki asks Haruka if he regrets helping Nanaha. He asked the professor the same question a long time ago, to which he said yes, but he didn't want to abandon his humanity. At Shido's club, Fuku walks in bloodied, telling the others how he had to kill his mom. They shouldn't have given up on Mamoru 5 years ago, but it's too late for regrets now. Jin wakes up to tentacles on his face. I know where this is He eats one. Okay. Haruka arrives telling Jin that this Amazon is Nanaha, and that he wants to help kill her and Chihiro. Jin is hurt with what's happened, but is going through with his rule no matter what. Chihiro and EU rest up in a church. After all the past events, Chihiro finally feels happy. Kano did warn that if Chihiro didn't obey, then things would get worse. Tachibana gives the go-ahead for the worst to come. A button is pressed, causing EU's arm to start burning. It's the same sensation Chihiro felt from the pressure bomb. This much will outright destroy EU. Soldiers in Kurosaki's squad surround the church when one of the soldiers turns into an Amazon. You might want to turn your eyes away from this. EU begins to repeat the same thing over and over, covering her lost eye, and remembering the night of her family's murder. She screams and transforms. Now EU is the one on a rampage killing the soldiers. Chihiro tries to calm her down. She detransforms and reconnects with her emotions. Meanwhile, Mamoru is searching for Nanaha when he senses the extermination team nearby, aim to kill him. Jin watches. The final episode, Amazons. Hiroki walks into the church holding a scrap of EU and Chihiro's photo. Kurosaki fires as EU and Chihiro take off one last time. The extermination team surround Mamoru. They truly don't want to kill him. They want him to come home, but Mamoru wants to stay with Nanaha. Speaking of which, Jin confronts her, saying that this is the first time he's been happy ever since he lost his eyesight. He puts on the Amazon driver and transforms. Nanaha incapacitates the extermination team, and Jin stabs through her body. Fuku fires, but Mamoru takes the hit from the pressure bomb. Nanaha starts dying anyway, and with her last words, she says that Jin is a good father. Heck no. EU and Chihiro rest by making little mud cakes. Chihiro notices her smile, so he carries her and sings her song. She's finally having fun again. Then Haruka and Jin walk up to them. Haruka can't leave Chihiro alive or else he'll keep spreading lysogenic cells. Chihiro regrets how everything happened because of him and how he hurt Nanaha, but Jin says he's wrong. Jin himself hurt her and now wants to right this wrong. Our 3 Amazon riders transform. Mamoru leaves behind a yen necklace as the extermination team look towards the ocean. Haruka, covered in blood, walks down a street when Mizuki stops him, holding a pressure bomb. All that's left for her is to shoot, but she lets him go. Jin stumbles down a tunnel, feeling like Nanaha isn't letting him move on. Hiroki goes back to school, still holding onto the photo of Iyu and Chihiro. Tachibana plans for a new Sigma project, and finally, Chihiro and Iyu's armlets rest in front of a mural that Nanaha drew. Thus ending Season 2. 2 years later, Haruka is still being hunted down by Kurosaki's squad, but Mizuki gets injured during a firefight. She and Haruka get treated by some people in white. Children live together in a mansion because they have nowhere else to go. Their father figure is Principal Mito, a man who becomes Kamen Rider Amazon Neo Alpha.
Amazon.
Ew. He protects these kids so that they can eventually be adopted. The extermination team are sent out on their own mission from Reika to protect him, because as Reika says, she really loves Haruka. The team and Haruka investigate a girl that was adopted just a bit ago. Haruka is led to a house where he hears a couple say that the girl looked like she tastes really good. She's strapped to a table because the girl isn't human. Tachibana explains to the audience that there isn't enough meat for the world, so he went forward with his new Sigma project, the Amazon Cattle Project. The kids aren't in an orphanage, they're in an Amazon farm, as the Amazon livestock. He made sure to make these kids grow up as vegetarians, by the way. Haruka runs back to the orphanage, saying that they don't know what they're doing, except the kids say they know everything. They're just fulfilling their roles in life and are never happier. Principal Mito takes Haruka to a room of worship. Inside is a chained-up man. It's Jin, now with his eyesight restored. He was being used for experiments that go along with the new Sigma project. Haruka fights against Mito, then Jin is set free by one of the kids to help defeat him. There's another part where you want to look away, but this finisher is brutally awesome. With that, it's time for Jin and Haruka's final battle.
Amazon.
On a hill, Jin lays on Nanaha. He starts to feel cold and closes his eyes for the last time. Haruka stumbles back to a nearby lake. He imagines Mizuki telling him that he protected everyone. Tachibana is upset that Kurosaki came back empty-handed, but they laugh. Reika puts an indictment for the illegal farming of Amazon. Tachibana continues yelling when Kurosaki shoots him in the leg. Mizuki decides to stay at the orphanage to take care of the kids, and Haruka rides off into the unknown, thus ending Kamen Rider Amazons.
Omega Alpha.
Kamen Rider Amazons.
At least we got some of the color back. Anyway, I asked you guys on Twitter what your thoughts are on Kamen Rider Amazons as a whole, and here are some of your responses. At Mondo Kumo says, it's actually good, but yeah, the story felt rushed in Season 2 and sorta went downhill. But one thing that you can't hate about the series is the theme song, cause my god, they're so catchy. I'll bring up the themes in just a bit, but yeah, they're really, really good. At Hydrated Spriggs says, I appreciate the mature and edgy bits, but the overall story is what kept me invested seeing Haruka and the rest of the cast go to places of no return along with Jin's self-appointed mission of exterminating the problem he helped create to the point of killing his own son. Man, the story of Haruka and Jin conflicting with each other throughout Season 1 and 2, it's so good. At Dangan Yankee says, more please. At Tsukoshikaze says, I greatly enjoyed Kamen Rider Amazons. Love the suit designs, the music, stories, and characters. It's not the first series to incorporate dark elements or bloody violence, but the struggles between morals and ideals of the cast make it so investing. I say both seasons get a thumbs up. As I've brought up a lot throughout the video, presentation is important to a story like this, and I'm really happy we got something along with Kamen Rider Amazons, and I'm still hoping we get that stronger one too. Please be real. At Jin Shacho says, at first I wasn't a big fan of Season 2. I found Season 1 was so much better that it was difficult for me to watch. But now after rewatching it, it's not as bad as I thought. I ended up enjoying it a lot more than my first viewing. Kurosaki and Iyu were great. P.S. Chihiro's a simp. Yeah. At Set's Thoughts says, Mamoru. Thanks, Someone. At Marcosatsu says, Chihiro is better than Jin. I agree with that guy 100%. Twitter's a mess. If you'd like to be in one of these videos, you can follow me at Marcosatsu on Twitter, where I ask these questions, and you get to have a chance of being on them sometimes, maybe. But yeah, let's get back to it. I really gotta work on those transitions. Kamen Rider Amazons was the last season I needed to complete my viewing of Heisei Rider, including final stage shows. With only 26 episodes, I still had a lot to say, and I haven't even said everything I wanted to about Season 1, let alone the characters, so let's get started. I repeated over and over that I'm not the type of guy that goes deep into things. Build or Gio are probably going to be the last times I say that for Heisei, but I digress. Obviously, tokusatsu have a lot of substance and value. If you want to get deeper into that value, then it changes from person to person. My personal observations have a lot of people with different opinions on Amazons. Some of those people only saw clips, or half an episode. Ew, it's super violent, unlike how Rider normally is. I used to be that kind of guy. I'm not saying you can't be that type of guy, though I am saying that you should give shows a try, and not half an episode's worth of trying. I believe there's a lot of substance to Amazons, it's just up to you to see it too. Or hey, I always say I'm open to different opinions, so maybe you've seen enough and absolutely don't want to go past 5 minutes of Season 1. I'm just happy enough that you've listened this far. Getting past all that, Amazon's visuals have to be considered when analyzing it. You can read a book with no pictures, but you'll still have pictures in your mind as you read the book. With the presentation being a big part, I do want to restate that it still looks really friggin' cool. While I didn't mind the sepia tone washing in Season 1, I preferred how Season 2 had a bit more color but wasn't brighter. This was even used artistically when Jin had a flashback to when he was with Nanaha at the end of Season 1, as the colors come back. The filter also had a callback to when the Amazon writers had a cameo in Cho Superhero Tyson. A big difference to how Season 2 was filmed is that the production crew used cinematic cameras for it, while Season 1 had traditional television equipment. There was definitely more violence in Season 2, but it really did feel more cinematic to me. Plenty of wide shots, Dutch angles, experimental shots with these low lights, and Neo Origin's Rampage is beautiful. Film-wise, of course. Season 1 had some cool shots too, and I'm just a sucker for handheld cameras that hold onto the scene for a quiet or somber moment. Then when it gets into the action, it's absolutely gorgeous. And Amazon has some of my favorite action scenes in the franchise. Apologies if this is an overused phrase, though I think Season 1 has raw action, while Season 2 is more of an organized chaos. Season 1's rooftop fight against the Ant-Amazon colony is iconic, and Season 2's chaos of Amazon Neo and EU fighting with their unbridled rage against every Amazon they come across is beauty in itself. Then there's the movie. Last Judgment only has a couple of big fights, but they're brutal. Alpha versus Neo Alpha is disturbing, and the final battle between our last two Amazon is cathartic. The cinematography for Last Judgment seemed basic at first, but then it just got bigger and bigger until the shot of Jin and Haruka on the hill, ending with Haruka riding off on a long street. Those are just the visuals. I don't go out of my way for the gore, but the action alone has value to me. What I stayed for was the story and characters. Season 1 is known as Awakening, and Season 2 is Reincarnation. Fitting, huh? There was an awakening with our main cast, along with the literal awakening of the Amazons. There was a theme of finding yourself, something awakening inside. Haruka was given a new life the moment he realized he was an Amazon. He was no longer bound to a small room as his Amazon broke out of the figurative and literal cell, showing him how the world is for better and for worse. This is where I'll go into a bit of my own theory crafting and interpretation. But Meme Coast, you don't go deep into these things. Well, there's a first time for everything. Besides, I like to open these videos for discussion, so if you'd like to talk about anything Amazons related, then I'd love to read it in the comments. With Haruka let loose, I thought of Mizuki as the bit of innocence he left behind. In some ways, that could also go along with Nanaha. Mizuki does pop up a few more times in Season 1, and she still has a bit of a blank or sad expression, living life like almost nothing happened. Then when she's introduced to Nanaha, she's told of what's going on with Haruka and the Amazons. Mizuki starts to feel like she missed so much in Haruka's life, and he was in a cell for most of it. So when she's given a task to help him, she goes through figurative hell to give Haruka a golden bangle. Then 5 years later, she grew stronger and willing to fight on the front lines. She was with Haruka more and was even considering killing him if anything went wrong. Being the daughter of Reika Mizuzawa, Mizuki had a lot going for her too. However, Haruka got more of the spotlight in the family, so unintentionally or not, Mizuki was getting stronger, not just for her family, but for herself. While I feel that Kurosaki is a representation of acceptance, he's probably the most laid back of the entire cast in both seasons, but that's because he feels like he's seen everything. He's already lived through the Talok incident, so seeing soldiers die out by Amazons is probably nothing to him. And yet, he keeps a sarcastic demeanor to him with that blank expression. I don't know why some people didn't like him, but I think he might be one of my favorite characters in the whole show. Well, that's a coincidence, considering he's the brother of a certain red metal bird we all love. Oh yeah, Kurosaki Squad was part of an organization. So I didn't really bring up the hierarchy of Nozama Pharmaceuticals, and I didn't even say the name of the organization that Kurosaki Squad was in. The one that Tachibana's the director of. It's called Competitive Creatures Control Center, or 4C. Reika oversees the extermination team in the Amazons incident, but she takes orders from Chairman Takaki Tenjo. They both don't appear much in both seasons, and I do like the evil organization trope in stories. Although, are they truly evil? Both organizations just want to get rid of the Amazon, and make money. There's always something lurking in the background, secrets not revealed to anyone but the audience until the end. Such as Reika making Haruka, and Tenjo's chaotic side of eating Amazons. I'm also a sucker for these blank but smart right-hand man characters like Kano. I was surprised to see him work under Tachibana in Season 2, but then it's revealed that he's been loyal to Reika behind the shadows the entire time. And his final line that he has to retire right after being cut in half, it's morbid, but I like those type of characters. See, there's always something hiding with these people, and our protagonists don't know about them. The extermination team were kept in the dark for so long. They've been hunting Amazon for a while, when Shido finally speaks up wanting answers. Then with Season 2, the team were a lot closer and they had one mission. Bring back Mamoru. Well, y'all know how it be. I should also bring up some negatives, huh? My biggest issue with both seasons is how things are brought up, and that's it. I had a similar problem with Kamen Rider Drive, and that was such a tightly written show, it's distracting to see plot elements just dropped. Everything has some sort of meaning attached to it, even characters that seemingly don't say much. So what was the plan with certain things? There was that golden bangle that Mizuki was gonna give to Haruka. I originally thought that it was gonna play a big part in Season 2 or something, but nope, it's just a thing that exists. One of the biggest issues I see from others is Amazon Sigma. He was here, got beat up, that's about it. He had a great presence at least. His phrase of killing people in a certain number of moves is so cool. But yeah, it was yet another thing that was there then dropped. They are good ideas, just with minimal execution, and maybe that's because there wasn't enough time with only 13 episodes for each season. Now hold on, I've always been that guy who says writer stories would benefit from being shorter, and Amazon's definitely had the right amount for me. I just think that maybe the ideas could have been implemented better. A dead member of the extermination team coming back by the use of Amazon cells sounds amazing. It's an antagonistic move that sounds horrifying. A golden bangle that's meant to incapacitate its wearer? That would be an interesting way to stop some rampages. Season 2 had this thing about Hiroki wanting to create a new Team X with EU. Then Jin arrives and it's never brought up again. I guess Team X as a whole was kinda there as an introduction to this world 5 years after Season 1. Although some of the best parts of the storytelling is when things do stay for more than a single episode. Again, I didn't go over every detail, and I'd say they're definitely worth watching. One of my favorite episodes of Season 1 was the Cannibal Restaurant. It was not only a great episode with a great story, but it was a fantastic turning point for Haruka. He learned of Amazons who just wanted to be normal and couldn't run from their Amazon instincts, so they resorted to eating humans in secret under the guise of a restaurant. That restaurant was a small idea that led to bigger developments. Something more specific would be a Rose Amazon that appears in Season 2. 4C already had a negative eye on them from the public, failing to kill as many Amazons as Team X. Then Kurosaki Squad gets a tip about an Amazon. They go to a nearby signal and shoot a woman, who turns out to be human. You'll have to find out the rest for yourself. That reminds me, I haven't gone into the overall Season 2 analysis yet. Okay, let me start with this. Out of all the negativity I've heard from Rider, Amazon Season 2 got the most hate. Yes, more so than Gaim on HBO and definitely more than Orewa Tenkuji Takaru. Of course, it's from my personal findings on social media and other forums. Although I'm having a tough time about what people were expecting specifically, 5 years is a long time for someone to change, even in real life. Shido says that about Mamoru. After all that time, Mamoru isn't going to be the child he acted like back in Season 1. He got a taste of reality when he decided to be with Haruka and the other Amazon. His mind would be on what he considered the place he belonged to. Haruka was the same way, happy to find himself with the Amazon, but by Season 2, he learned of Mamoru's plan to create an army by infecting people. Haruka may be an Amazon, but he kept a shred of humanity, and felt it was wrong of Mamoru to do that. Then he had a tough decision on what to do with Chihiro, a decision he was thinking about for the last few years at the very least. One of the criticisms I've seen for Season 2 was how the characters we love weren't a big part of it. And then when they were on screen, they weren't really themselves. Except maybe for Jin. Well, duh! In a world as bleak as Amazon's, I wouldn't expect people to stay the same. Or at the very least, I'm expecting characters to know their situation better and grow with it. Originally, the writer for Amazons didn't want any of the first cast to return at all. Which kind of makes sense with how the old cast is dropped into the story, but it feels organic to me. We have new people in an old event. It was intentional that there would be a time jump in order to tread on less ideas that Season 1 had, and go on with something new. Maybe the biggest criticisms I've seen went along with one of those new ideas. Chihiro and Iyu. With the way I recapped it, you might have thought that there might not be much to it. Although it was a pretty big part of the story. Seeing Iyu was what motivated Chihiro to have this journey. What I personally got bothered by was the over-exaggeration that Chihiro had intention to do more with Iyu. Let me say this. Chihiro is 5 years old. There's this aspect of criticism that goes something like, an intentionally annoying character is still annoying. Chihiro is said to be this crybaby that only cares for Iyu. Really? Chihiro and Iyu's relationship are a big part, but I never saw Chihiro as a crybaby. He had caring feelings for other people. If anything, he's pretty strong for a child thrust into this world. In fact, controversial opinion incoming. I think Chihiro is better than Jin. Haruka was pretty young too, and he had great development. I'll get back to him in a bit. Jin is that wild animal who hunts Amazons and he tries to be smart about it. Or at least act by instinct. Chihiro is similar to Haruka, lost in this world and not having a place to go. He was caught up with Team X, which led him to 4C, and finally to Iyu. A natural domino effect that I really liked. A big piece of character was the reason why Chihiro was attached to Iyu. She was the first human he didn't want to eat. All of his short life, Chihiro had to fight back the cravings and his Amazon instincts. Then someone finally comes along that makes him feel normal. It was a platonic fascination, then it grew to a love of wanting to be normal. It wasn't exactly a romance, it was a relationship between two lost souls. And weirdly enough, I think Iyu has some character of her own. But I won't get into that. We've really made it this far, huh? I actually liked seeing Chihiro fight with himself. His inner turmoil was amazing, and when he finally decided what he wanted at the end, it was just so satisfying, and I loved it so much. I definitely have to give it to Yasuko Kobayashi for writing yet another amazing season of Rider. Maybe you'll recognize her name as being the lead writer for Mega Ranger, Time Ranger, Ryuki, Shinkenger O's, Tokyuger, Dan-O, and a lot more. Her characters have always been amazing. Sometimes the stories can miss, but I personally think both seasons of Amazon has some of the best storytelling she's written. And here's another controversial opinion. I personally think Season 2 is better than Season 1. Don't get me wrong, Season 1 is still in my fantastic tier, but I just feel like Season 2 does things a lot better. Character development, character writing, the stories, the action, the cinematography. Things felt a bit tighter, more well-written, more well-rounded. Each character did feel important, even the ones that I didn't bring up. And although those were basic points that I was touching upon, I won't let this video get any longer. But I should bring up the movie sometime. Reincarnation took place 5 years after Season 1. Last Judgment takes place 2 years after Season 2. That probably didn't matter in the grand scheme of things though, but I digress. I watched the entirety of Amazons with my friend Soan. We watched a few episodes every day, and I even held off finishing Season 2 until she was ready. We were both so happy and excited throughout the viewing. And we probably said so many times, why don't people like Season 2? Then when we got to the movie, by the end of it, we were like, that was it? My immediate impression was, it's alright. Currently, I'd say it's closer to good, but compared to everything else Amazon related, it's just okay. The story of the orphanage being an Amazon farm was a neat idea. That would have worked better as an episode, not a 2-hour-long movie. Again, I'd consider it to be good, but Amazons has been more than good to me at this point. But you know what I did find to be fantastic from the movie? The theme, titled Eat, Kill, Lol.
Dive into the fish and go right now! Body and soul!
Normally I wouldn't play my favorite theme first, but man, this song is just so friggin' amazing. Taro Kobayashi made such great vocal themes for the show, and he's just an awesome musician in general. Amazon's themes can be considered pretty edgy, but that's okay. I really love the music. Eat Kill Lol specifically puts together the best parts of the other two themes. Its blasting, heavy song going along with Kobayashi's vocals are great. There was also a collaboration with another singer, Nobi, not to mention the callbacks to the previous themes, and it's catchy. Actually, let's go backwards from here and hear Reincarnation's theme, Die Set Down. Some of you might remember the time this song became a meme that would play over plot twists for comedic effect. That aside, Die Set Down is another great song, and it might be the most heart-pumping of the three main themes, especially with how it starts. This might be a bit weird, but it sounds like a more evolved version of Awakening's theme, Armor Zone. This became an immediate classic simply with how different it is from other themes, just like Amazon itself. You can hear the raw emotion and a heavier sound that fits the grimy world of Amazons. Oh, and by the way, there are English versions of Armor Zone and Die Set Down, which I kinda prefer over the Japanese ones. There's this part during the bridge that might be a callback to the 74 Amazon that started with the yelling of the name. I did ask you guys on Twitter what your favorite theme was, and Armor Zone got majority vote. I still prefer Eat Kill All. Quick mention here that the Extermination team had cameos in Kobayashi's music video for Jaguar. Plus it's a good song too, highly recommended. Those are just the vocal themes. Amazon's OST is pretty good in general, probably being some of the most ambient music we've gotten since Kuga. I really enjoyed this one for Mamoru. Please listen to the Amazon's OST through music apps like iTunes. Okay, moving past that. Last Judgement felt more in line with Season 1, with only a couple of characters returning from Season 2, along with Haruka using his new Omega form. I think the characters went back to how we knew them, which kinda makes sense. 2 years is enough time for a couple of these characters to go back to a life they considered normal. Honestly, I mostly cared for the A-plot with Haruka. It was nice seeing Kurosaki's squad and the Extermination team, but when they were on screen, I wanted to go back to Haruka's story, which is weird cause I really liked those characters. Maybe it was because I knew this was the end and I wanted to see the real finale of Haruka versus Jin, and it was definitely worth the wait. Not to mention the brutal fight with Neo Alpha. Which reminds me, I know this is gonna sound weird, but my biggest issue with the whole film was that Principal Mito's rider name was Neo Alpha. New Omega was an upgrade for Haruka, so when I found out there was a new movie exclusive rider, I expected something cool like Gamma, Epsilon, I'd even accept Kappa. But not Neo Alpha, with an F. I don't even like the suit. It has the ugliest color scheme and design I've seen in this season. Not even a chainsaw could save it for me. New Omega though, oh yeah, now that's a side grade. It's okay. The design was based on a draft made for Neo, and I don't think it's an outright bad design. It fits the reincarnation aesthetic a bit better than I originally thought. Maybe it's because I have a bias since green is my favorite color, so Haruka's forms are automatically going to get some favor from me. My next favorite color is blue, so Amazon Neo started as alright to me. I love the more technological armor, and it's still sleek like Amazon Omega. Neo Origin was only seen a couple of times, but it was as terrifying as it was amazing. Other designs such as the belts were pretty great too. Of course, the Amazon drivers are based on the 74 Amazon belt, same with the bangles, and I love the modernized take on them. I know a couple of people who own the CSM belt, and I'm actually kinda jealous. The colors of the drivers and the sleekness work so well. Same with the Neo driver. The newness of Season 2 definitely shows with how this driver is. I think a couple of you wanted me to bring this up since Amazon does have a couple of callbacks to the 74 season, but obviously watching Amazon isn't necessary for this. The original 74 Amazon was friends with the mole Amazon, like in Amazons. Amazon. Okay, moving on. Haruka Mizuzawa, the protagonist we followed for 2 seasons and a movie. Following Haruka from the days of when he took care of an aquarium to when he became the leader of an Amazon pack was perfect. Then in Reincarnation, when we saw him follow a hollow shell who had to kill the one he promised to protect, that was a change I wasn't expecting. And I loved it. Having Jin as his foil and even an obstacle made for great storytelling. As Nanaha said, Jin is the wild animal, Haruka is the pet. Then in Season 2, when we found out that Jin was blinded because of Haruka, man, I just love Amazon so much. I know I didn't say much about Jin, but that's because he's perfect in the role he's in, and I really don't think I'd be able to say much about him. He's the foil for Haruka, 2 sides of the same coin, 2 people with different yet similar ideals. Jin was already pretty scary when he went crazy by the end of Awakening. Then when he became blinded, he truly was an animal going by pure instinct. It was sad to see how he hesitated when he realized that Chihiro would be an Amazon, but he didn't hold back when killing him and Nanaha. So weird seeing Go Blue like this. Oh yeah, quick fun fact. Amazons has a lot of familiar faces from Tokusatsu. I couldn't begin to cover them all. I did try to subtly point at them, but let's move on. Oh, one thing people didn't like, but I actually did, was the battle Chihiro had against Haruka and Jin, or the lack thereof. Yeah, there wasn't really a battle. It cut away as soon as their arms were raised. I can see why people didn't like that, since the whole season was building up to their final confrontation, and then we didn't get to see it. Funnily enough, the battle actually was filmed. For a stage show. The artistic choice was obviously going to be controversial, but I was okay with it for one simple reason. In a show that had so much violence, outlandish gore, and decapitations, it was cathartic to not see our protagonist kill the 5-year-old Chihiro. Now, if Haruka vs. Jin was skipped over in Last Judgment, then I'd have a problem. This has been a long video for only 26 episodes and a movie. I am very passionate about this show, and here's the reason why. My favorite Kamen Rider used to be Sakura Yuto, Kamen Rider Zoronos. His story was tragic, and he had great development. After completing my Heisei Rider watch-through, I can be more definitive with my personal top characters, stories, and seasons. With all that being said, my favorite Kamen Rider is Haruka Mizuzawa, Kamen Rider Amazon Omega, and my favorite season in Heisei Rider, possibly Rider as a whole, is Kamen Rider Amazons. I want to say thank you so much for watching up to the end. It means a lot to me because I did put so much hard work into this video. Plus, this is the first history of Kamen Rider. I was working with multiple editing softwares, including Premiere and After Effects, and I think it came out pretty okay. And plus, it's in 1080p now. Hey, I'm in the future of 2010. So yeah, I just appreciate that you guys are watching these videos. Like, I know I stumble a lot, and I'm sorry, but it just means a lot from the bottom of my heart. Really, I really truly appreciate the support and the thanks. So, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go watch Magical Girls next. Okay, so yeah, no more violence for me. That's enough. Thank you.